Welcome to Hooked on Rugby. This week we have former Wales coach and OBE Mike Ruddock. Mike, thanks for coming on. Big game this weekend for Wales. Ready to beat Ireland for the Grand Slam. Sound familiar?
Yeah, of course it does. It takes me back to 2005 and that great day in the stadium there. The sun was shining. The fans were just incredible. There were thousands of fans obviously in the stadium, and many thousands of fans outside the stadium, you know, climbing trees, looking at big screens. Now I think the weather is due to be inclement on the weekend, so I don't think you'll have the same level of support outside the stadium, but it's still going to be a fantastic day. And I really hope Wales win, because on Sunday last, when Ireland played France in Dublin, I spent the day in Lansdowne Rugby Club, and after the game I bet quite a number of Irish people quite a considerable amount of money that Wales are going to win. So if I go back and Wales have lost, I'm going to have to go to the AIB bank in Dublin and borrow some money to pay them back.
I was going to say, well, so many Irish connections, obviously, in your wife Bernie, your kids, obviously, recent Kieran, and your daughter Katie. And you still want Wales to win, do you?
Oh, of course I do. Yeah, well, I was born in the Gwent Valleys, you know, and you know, very passionate about Wales. Played for the Welsh schoolboys, played for Wales B, was in the international squad. Never made a full cap. For anybody who didn't see me play, I was absolutely brilliant. I never missed a tackle, but didn't get capped. My mother was Irish. She was an Irish lady from County Clare. My wife, as you said, Bernie, is from Dublin. Interestingly enough, her dad was actually a Welshman, so we both had Welsh-Irish parents.
Oh, right.
And when we got married, her dad said, "I don't feel like I've lost a daughter. I feel like I've gained a ticket in the West Stand." So I was under quite a bit of pressure to get some tickets for him. And then Rhys was born in Dublin, 28 years ago, when I coached Bective Rangers, who the great Cliff Morgan, another legendary
commentator as well,
outside half for Wales, like yourself, played for Bective. And so I was proud to be linked with that club and his legacy. And then Kieran played for the Ireland under-19s, Ireland under-20s, and not a lot of people will know this, but Kieran actually, at this moment in time, is in camp with the Ireland team as a conditioner. So he's one of the conditioners that put the boys through their paces, and he's one of the few Welshmen who can say, as a management part of a management team, that he's actually been part of a management team that's beaten the All Blacks. So in fairness to him, he's done very well. My daughter Katie, she actually played underage, under-20s, I think it was, netball for Ireland as well, before she did her ACL and a meniscus, so she's given that up. But so there's an Irish link all the way through the family, but I'm still going for Wales.
Still Wales, that's the way, Mike. And obviously you mentioned your playing days there, obviously a fantastic coach, but you were a fantastic player as well, but it was cut short, wasn't it?
Yeah, unfortunately I got knocked off a ladder, industrial accident, don't remember too much about it. The boys in Blaina reckon they knocked a bit of sense into me. You know, I went from there into coaching. I started in my local club, Blaina, helping out there. Then the coach left, so I went on. They sent me on the Welsh Rugby Union Level 2 course to Swansea, believe it or not, and I could write a book on that particular couple of weeks in Swansea. But went back to Swansea, back to Blaina, thinking I knew everything about coaching. I'd been on the course, and I was ready to become the best coach in the world. We lost the first 4 games. The committee gave me a yellow card, so my coaching career was almost over in the first month. We managed to turn it around. We won every game after that in Blaina, and we won the Monmouthshire Premier League. So in my first season, I managed to get a trophy. I think it was more down to the boys that I was coaching. They were excellent, really. And in fact, a lot of us, I'd played with a lot of the guys. We'd won the Welsh Youth Cup together in 1978, so they're talented boys. The year after, we came second in the league, won the Ben Francis Cup, which was like the Monmouthshire Cup. But I dropped the outside half, and his wife served in the bar in the rugby club, and she refused to serve me in the bar afterwards. And I thought, okay, I can handle that, I'll go to someone else. But when I went to the local co-op on the Monday, she was serving behind the till and wouldn't serve me there either. So I knew it was time to leave. So I went to Cross Keys, and I coached in Cross Keys for 2 years. So I must have been pretty green. I was only about 28, and they were financially in ruin. The president had walked out of the club, the chairman had walked out. It was in disarray. So I managed to knock on a few doors, get a few players down there,
Yeah.
and I had 2 pretty good seasons there. So much so that in the end, we ended up beating Swansea.
Yeah.
And that's when Swansea said, hey, you know, we like to look at what you're doing. We'd like
Yeah.
you to come and coach us. So that's how that unfolded, really.
Yeah. Oh, so you went from Swansea then to... Did you go to Leinster then from Swansea?
Yeah, I did, 7 seasons in Swansea.
Yeah.
So then, you know, I thought, well, I've, you know, sort of done as long as most coaches are going to do, really,
Yeah,
7
yeah.
years. So a role came up for the first ever full-time professional coaches in the 4 provinces in Ireland.
Yeah.
So I applied for the Leinster job, got that, and went over to coach Leinster, which was a fantastic experience. It was tough. Having said that, it was tough because a lot of the best players had left and gone to England because Ireland were very reluctant to take on professionalism. You know, so some of their better players like Malcolm McKelly had gone to London Irish, Conor O'Shea had gone over to England, I think, with someone like the Harlequins. Eric Miller had gone to Leicester, you know, who played for the Lions at number 8. So they were in transition. I took on a load of youngsters. I looked at the schools rugby.
Yeah.
I signed guys like Gordon Darcy, Brian O'Driscoll, straight out of UCD. I watched him play outside half, actually, and Student World Cup, and signed him for Leinster as an outside half. Shane Hogan, who you see quite a bit of on TV, he was a youths player, signed him. Reggie Corrigan, I signed him from second division rugby team. So it was an interesting time.
Yeah.
I put together a team, and we started to do okay.
How's that coaching those boys and seeing like O'Driscoll and Darcy, those boys, seeing what they've become now? Obviously, you coached Trevor Brennan as well, who's a character, isn't he?
Trevor's a major character, so I could write a book on Trev. One very quick story that comes to mind was the season before I joined Leinster, actually. The boys had played in the European Cup, and the lads had played against Milan.
Yeah.
On the way out, they got back to the airport, and one of the lads, his passport was out of date. So he was in date 2 or 3 days earlier to get in, but he was out of date the day he wanted to fly. So the team manager, you know, had a bit of a difficulty communicating with the officials. Yeah. All he knew was this guy couldn't travel. So he went back to the squad. He said, look, a lot of you guys have been really well educated. Blackrock College, Terranure College, St Mary's College, all the fee-paying schools in Dublin. Mum and Dad are doing pretty well, so they put you in these really good schools. Can any of you speak Italian to get us out of trouble? None of them could speak Italian. The only hand went up was Trevor Brennan, who went to the wrong side of town, if you like. And the manager, Jim, said, look, don't mess about, Trevor. This is a really serious situation. No, he said, I'll give it a lash. Yeah. Anyway, within 5 minutes, the customs officials were hugging Trevor, patting him on the back. They're all laughing and smiling. Your man went through, got aboard the flight and got back home. And Jim said to Trevor, like, you really, you know, shocked me there. I thought you'd be the last guy who could have learned a second language. He said, where did he learn that? He said, I've been working for the last 6 years part-time in the local chip shop, in Italian chip shop in Lucan. So he learned his Italian in the chip shop.
Oh, fair dues to him.
Hell of a character.
Yeah, he sounds it, aye. But after Leinster, then you went to the Dragons then, obviously really successful. Was it the Dragons after Leinster?
No, I did Ebervale for a few years. I did Wales A. I did Wales A for 4 years. Until the Welsh Rugby Union ran out of money. And we all had to finish with Wales A. They dissolved it, and that was the end of the gig there. But I did okay, you know, I did okay with Wales A, so much so that when regional rugby came along and I got the gig with the Dragons for the first year, you know, my stock was relatively high because they had done okay with the Wales A team.
Well, didn't
Well, I think we won 4-5. The other Wales got whitewashed. I remember, what was that, about 2003? We won 4-5. Then I went with the Dragons in 2004, and we finished third, highest ever finish we've had, or the Dragons have had in the professional league. So obviously that when the Welsh job came up, I guess that gave me half a shout that I'd have a chance to go for it.
Is it true you didn't even apply for the Welsh job, would it?
No, I didn't apply for it. I'd worked so hard to pull that Dragons thing together. Yeah. You know, there was a lot of political infighting, both in the boardroom, which was interesting in my first visit, into the meet the board, the new board for the new company, and outside, obviously, you know, where the Newport supporters didn't want to support the team unless it was called Newport, and then the supporters from the rest of Gwent didn't want to go and support the team because it was being played in, all the games were played in Newport. So. It was a tough thing, and again, I think we lost the first 4 games. trying to get the guys together. And then when we started to win, it just became a totally different product, totally different environment. In fact, we went into administration halfway through the season, and we had a meeting. The officials came in and said, "Look, the company's going to go into liquidation or administration."
Yeah.
And I said to the lads, "I think this is all a bit political. Let's get down the pub tomorrow instead of training and stick together."
Yeah.
And we did, and we came out through that.
Best thing to do, isn't it?
Yeah, and we stuck together tight, and we ended up finishing very strongly. And in fact, on the last Saturday, we actually could have even won it. Percy Montgomery was our star player, got injured at half time. We were winning in Leinster, in Dublin, and he broke his hand. Second half, we faded a little bit, and Leinster won. And I think they meant the Scarlets actually won the Celtic League that year. So we finished third, but we defied everyone's predictions because at the time everyone called my team the rejects because we were having the sort of leftover players from all the other teams, but they were fantastic. The lads were brilliant.
Oh, fair play too. Is it true, Mike, in Leinster when you coached them, you had the biggest bench press in the squad?
It is true, yeah. And I'm still pretty good there. Yeah. I'm still doing okay with it. But as you can see, aerobically, I'm challenged. And you mentioned my OBE earlier. Yeah. The boys in Blaina reckon the Queen was dyslexic, and she left the S and the E off the end. So.
And now you spoke about coaching Swansea. Can you tell us about the time you recruited Gavin Jenkins?
Yeah. I came in. I watched tapes of Swansea. Swansea asked me to coach them, and I knew the mentality from when I played there. We played great rugby, but when it came to the nitty-gritty, going away to Pontypool, we struggled to scrummage and hold a fierce pack who were a bit more sort of closer knit and better coached up front. So I looked at tapes and I said, right, we need a real good scrummaging hooker. I asked around because I'd been out of the country, I'd been in Beckley Rangers for the year, and I said, look, who's the best scrummaging hooker in Wales? And everyone told me it was Gavin Jenkins. So I went up to Anisabul, where he lived, 76 Robert Street, Anisabul. I can still remember the address. Knocked on the door. Gavin came to the door, chatted to him. It was pre-professionalism. There was no money. I just sold him the vision, what we wanted to do with the club and the team. Gavin said, right, I'm going to join Swansea. And he liked the sound of it. I went down to training a couple of days later, and by then there was a bit of speculation in the press that Gavin might be joining. And one of my props, who shall remain nameless, but was studying at Swansea University English literature, said to me, is it true we're going to sign Gavin Jenkins? So I didn't want to let the cat out of the bag, so I said, what do you think of Gavin? He says, he's terribly dirty. I said, well, if I do sign him, that's the reason why. We need somebody with a bit of oomph in him, because it sounds like my front row a bit too clever, really. We need to bring him back down to earth. So that's what we did. We signed Gavin, and he just made our team. He was fantastic. And Scott Gibbs came along as well, and Aled Williams outside half. Those three signings. The year before I joined Swansea, Swansea finished last but won in the first ever Welsh League top division. They lost to Glamorgan Wanderers in the cup. So I didn't expect us to win the league, but those three signings made such a difference that we ended up winning the league that year. And Gavin was sensational. He made our pack scrummage, and I always I always tell people how what a big effect he had. He was brilliant.
Yeah, fair play. He's a good bloke as well, isn't he?
Top bloke. Yeah. Again, I could write a book about some of the stories. We had some good fun as well,
Yeah, so I suppose 2005, you win a Grand Slam, which is the first one in 27 years, I think.
Yeah.
And less than a year later, you're gone.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that, Mike?
Mixed emotions. I mean, as I said, I didn't apply for the job, and I was coaching the Dragons. I put a lot of work in. My view was if I wanted to do that job, I need to bring in my own coaching team as well. So the pressure, there's enough pressure in those jobs. You need to be tight knit. And I remember one day coaching the Dragons, Steve Lewis, who was the chief executive or general manager of the Welsh Rugby Union, and Terry Cobner happened to turn up. We used to train in Cwmbran Stadium. They watched a bit of the session. I thought, okay, well, that's nothing new there, because we're part of the Welsh Rugby Union system. So they came in, had a cup of tea, and they said, look, come with us. We'd like to take you off to a hotel down the road. We need to chat to you. So they chatted to me and said, look, Mike, we really think you should apply for this job. And I said, well, I don't really want to. I'll bring my own team in. They said, look, if you don't do it now, it might pass you by, and we really think you'd be a strong candidate. I said, well, they said, look, just do the interview, see how you feel. So I did the interview, and you know when you nailed an interview, you know? So absolutely nailed it. I remember having a CV. I'd actually taken the trouble to put a CV together around that time of little clips of me playing rugby, of my time in Leinster, time in different clubs, time in Swansea, and some of the work I'd done with the Dragons. It was only 2 minutes long, but it just gave an overview of the traits I would bring to a team. And I remember showing that to David Moffat, because I said, David, in the interview, you don't know, you've only been in the country a short while, you wouldn't know who the hell I am. I'm not a famous international, but this is me, this is what I do. These are the things I think I can bring to any team. And they're consistent with what I can display here with the teams I've coached. And you know, I was asked a number of questions about how I would change the team and what I would do to the team. And James, rugby's a simple game. You and I have had many conversations. You know, the attack was going really well. I just said, well, we leave that alone. I want to bring in a defence coach, so I brought in Clive Griffiths, who was fantastic. The same sort of impact that Sean Edwards would have and Andy Farrell's having with Ireland. I said, you know, as much as Wales are scoring lots of points, it's a bit like Kevin Keegan's football team. They let in loads in the other end. So we need to sort that out. And you know, obviously, where I think I can bring a bit of expertise is trying to get us a little bit tighter in the set piece. And Wales had conceded tries from driving mauls, for example, out in Ireland a year earlier. Shane Byrne, who I'd coached with Leinster, scored 2 tries off a driving maul. So I talked to them about how I thought I could stop that type of situation. So that was the plan, you know, tighten the defence up, tighten the set piece up, but let Wales play the way they've been playing. And, you know, that's what we did. I sort of went from coaching the Dragons. I was very busy. So after the interviews happened and I was offered the job, I said, okay, I'll bring Clive in. Went off to coach the Dragons to finish the season off. Next thing I was picking the team for Argentina. Next thing I'm on the plane to Argentina and South Africa for our first tour, and before we know it, it's the November test and then the Six Nations where we win the championship. So in all that time, I never got round to signing a contract. The Welsh Rugby Union never asked me to complete the signing of the contract. We had a verbal conversation about the contract being extended. 6 months later, that was all agreed. The finances were agreed, shook hands on that. But 6 months later, it was never tied down. So eventually the Welsh Rugby Union asked me to, they wrote to me and said they were withdrawing from contract negotiations. So I took that as a vote of no confidence, time to move on. So that's what I did, I moved on.
How do you feel about that then, Mike?
Well, you know, it's part of the early days. People ask me, I say, look, it's part of the early days of professionalism. I think, you know, there was, it wasn't the best sort of managed situation in the world. Both sides learned from it. I'm sure I learned a lot from it. The Welsh Rugby Union, I'm sure, learned a lot from it. And you know, these days all those contract things would be nailed down and sorted out. Exactly. You know, you wouldn't have that. But you see the anxiety and instability it causes. You only got to look what happened there last week or two in Welsh Rugby. When you start to say, well, people haven't got contracts and don't know where their future is, it creates a lot of instability. So it certainly created that for me. Not having a contract signed all the time I was there. So that's what happened. Look, I don't hold any grudges. It is what it is. I walked away with some good memories, some really good strong memories, and a Six Nations winners medal as well. So you move on.
And so I suppose you're coaching Lansdowne still in Dublin, doing really well, successful. Any aspirations to come back into Wales and coach, Mike, or not?
Yeah, I've really enjoyed Lansdowne, a great club. I'd actually played for Swansea against Lansdowne many years ago, 30 odd years ago, against legendary people like Moss Keane, who's a legendary international, Des Fitzgerald, whose son Luke obviously played for Leinster and Ireland as well. You know, so I had a link back to those days. When Lansdowne asked me to coach them, I jumped at it. Again, they'd underperformed for a long time. Hadn't done well since the introduction of Irish leagues. So during my time, we won the All-Ireland League for the first time, and in fact we won it 3 times during my tenure, and we've also won the All-Ireland Cup and the Leinster Cup and the Leinster League a number of times. So you know, we've done really well. I've really enjoyed it. Currently 3rd, I think, in the league after losing a couple of players from last year. So we're looking forward to trying to make the playoffs this year and doing okay. Would I ever come back and coach in Wales? Well, I really don't know, because no one's ever asked me to, so I've never thought about it. So if someone asked me, you might give it some thought, but I'm getting a bit older now, James. I'm thinking of actually scaling down, and I'd like to join Mal Pope if he'll give me an audition in his band, really.
I'm sure he will, man.
See if he'll take me in his band to play. So that would be my next goal, really.
Oh, there we are. We'll ask him now. So you mentioned your fond memories of Cross Keys. Tell us about the road traffic accent between the Cross Keys bus and the guitar.
Yeah, well, as you know, I'm sort of world-class three-chord player on the guitar, and I decided as part of my sort of team-building concept that when we had an away trip, I'd take the guitar, and we went down to Torquay to play, and I stopped. The bus driver stopped the bus outside of the hotel on the Friday night. So I put the guitar. I didn't have a case. I just put it on the roof, the rack, the travel rack.
Yeah.
So I took it down and I opened the boot. I got off first to to sort of make sure the guitar didn't get damaged.
Yeah.
All the boys jumping about there. So I opened the boot. The bus was stationary. I put my bag strategically in the right-hand corner, so I could get it off first, and get away. So I opened the boot, leant my guitar against the bumper, put one knee up on the boot, got in a bit, grabbed my bag. As I did so, I heard the reverse noise come on, deet, 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 and the bus reversed over my guitar. The boys reckon it's the best noise they've ever heard coming out. So my reaction to the driver, we let's say we fell out.
You buy your new guitar or not?
No, I had to take the bus company to the small claims court, actually, get my money back on my guitar. So that was tough. But the boys still to this day reckon it's the best tune I've ever made.
So in the Cross Keys days, how did the recruitment work?
Yeah, well, I sort of pinched a few players from Blaenau, having coached them, which Blaenau weren't too happy about. I think they've forgiven me now, about 30 odd years later. But I did say to the committee, I said, look guys, we're going okay. We just beaten a few notable teams. We'd had wins over Newport, we'd had wins over Pontypridd, Ebervale, sides like that we weren't previously beaten. And of course we beat Swansea, which got me the job really in Swansea. But I said, look, we need a big second row. We're not as efficient in the line as we could be. We're a really good mauling team, really good scrummaging team. But if we could just get a taller guy, win a bit more line out, we'd be fine.
Yeah.
So the next night, the club secretary rang me. He said, I've got you a second row. I said, that's fantastic. I said, that's quick. I said, where do you get him from? Risker, Newport Saracens, Crumlin, one of the sort of teams quite close by.
Yeah.
No, he said, Tesco's.
It's like a Chelsea.
Yeah, he said, I said, what do you mean Tesco? He said, well, I took a tin of beans off the top shelf and a bloke's head was the other side. He said, so I went round, started talking to him. And he was a Scottish lad now living in Wales, and God bless him, he'd had a very bad car accident. And he had lumps and bumps in his head, concave, convex sort of shapes. Yeah. And he had this strong Glaswegian accent. He came down to training. I thought, if I can get this 6'8" guy out on the field, he'll frighten everybody to death. We'll win every game, So he turned up in his work clothes. He was a plasterer. He didn't have any rugby kit. He played a bit of football and stuff, but I thought, right, this is a bit of a challenge. If I can get this guy to play for us, it'll be fantastic. So he started to stand. I said, just watch a bit of training. I'll come up and chat to you later. So we did some skills and some fitness and stuff. And then I said, right, we're going to do some line-outs. So we did some line-outs. And I said to the hooker, just run that a moment. I'm going to go and get this guy down. So I got him down. I said, right, this is the line-out. I said, I want you to stand there. All you got to do, I said, jump up, catch the ball, bring it down. We'll do the rest. We're going to maul. We're going to do a lot of mauling, right, off the line-out. A very strong team in the maul. He said, Scottish boy, what number will I be? I said, never mind the number, just jump, catch the ball, bring it down. That's all you got to do. Yeah. Right. I said, what have you got to do? He said, jump, bring it down. I said, that's all you got to do. So we threw the ball in. This guy went up. He had no boots on, right? Work clothes. He must have jumped about 4 foot off the floor. I thought, this is fantastic. Took the ball, brought it down, turned to the opposition. I thought, I got a bit of work to do with this bloke, right? Anyway, so we wanted to pick him, but he didn't have rugby boots. Yeah. So he was doing fitness training and stuff on the side of the pitch, but he couldn't join in because he didn't have boots. Yeah. So he said, I can't afford boots. So we sent away for boots for him. Had him specially made, size 16, right? Size 16. Biggest bloke you've ever seen. Yeah. I thought, if I can get him on the field, he'll frighten everybody. So eventually the boots came back, and I remember they came to the club, and we were playing a Welsh Cup game against Caerleon or someone away, or Chepstow. It was Chepstow away. And I thought, right, I'll get him on the bench, and I'll do the first ever tactical substitution, because it wasn't really allowed in those days.
Yeah.
I'll sneak him on towards the end of the game and give him 10 minutes and see how he is. So I rang him up and said, you're on the bench, I got your boots. He arrived at the club, and I remember holding him up against the hooker's back on the, on the bus tube, and he said, hey, what do you think of these if he give you a rake in? He said, imagine that guy doing a bit of raking, back in the day.
Yeah.
And so I got in the change room, give him the boots. He changed up, he put the strip on, and he put the boots on. I said, what are they like, fella? They're a bit wee. I said, what? They're a bit wee. I said, what do you mean wee? Ah, they're too small, he said. So we never got him to play for us after all that work.
That was the end of that. Straight back to Tesco's.
So I managed to overcome a few coaching challenges in my time, but I had to give up on this fella in the end. Yeah.
Ah, brilliant. Yeah, you spoke about 2005. There's a story about the Welsh team travelling to Italy.
Yeah, we were... We'd obviously just beaten England, and we were world champions at the time, and the country, went mad. As I said to people, we didn't just beat England; we absolutely hammered them, 11-9, and so suddenly thousands of people decided to book flights to Italy, and when we got to Cardiff Airport to fly to Italy, there was suddenly thousands of Welsh fans. And the boys were all travelling in their Welsh tracksuits, and one by one the boys went through passport control, and the other side of passport control were these fantastic fans who were so passionate about their team. So the boys went through. Michael Owen went through first in his Welsh tracksuit. He'd given this scoring pass to Shane Williams to score in the corner, the only try of the game. So Michael Owen went through, and the voice in the crowd said, well done, Michael, and there's a big cheer. And then Shane Williams went through, scored the only try. Voice in his Welsh tracksuit, voice in the crowd said, well then, Shane. He'd bigger cheer. Gavin Ensign went through in his Welsh tracksuit next, kicked the winning goal. So voice in the crowd said, well done, Gavin. The roof nearly came off. Biggest cheer of the lot, because obviously he kicked the winning goal. And this is absolutely true what I'm telling you. The next guy to go through was our nutritionist, who was vertically challenged. He's only about 5'3", and he had a Welsh tracksuit on.
Who was that? Is that Dan King, was it?
Yeah, Dan. And of course no one knew who he was. So these thousands of fans were waiting to see their heroes. They'd seen Gavin, they'd seen Michael, they'd seen Shane. The next guy to walk through was a nutritionist called Dan, and he wasn't particularly tall. He walked through with his Welsh tracksuit on, and of course there was a silence, a bit of embarrassment. Really, no one knew who this guy was. And the voice in the crowd shouted, well done, mascot. And he had the biggest cheer of the day.
He's happy with that, isn't he?
And it just shows the Welsh humour. It's fantastic. And actually, just thinking about that, just after the fallout of my situation and the contract and that with the Welsh Rugby Union, and I resigned, I went to watch Reece play for the Wales under-16 team in Italy. And I was in the clubhouse, and it was a bit awkward. No one really wanted to come and talk to me. It was only days after my resignation, so you could feel people are a bit sort of reluctant to talk to me and ask me what had happened. And anyway, one of the lads came over. He was his son was a scrum half on the team, and he started chatting, and I could see everyone relaxing a little bit then. And anyway, we're looking forward to the game. We're talking about the strengths of Italy, and looking forward to seeing our sons playing. And I said, listen, I'm going to the bar. I said, can I get you a drink? And he said, no, I'll get the drinks, Mike. You're on the dole now. And just the Welsh humour is fantastic. I would sort of everybody relaxed then and just go on with it.
Yeah, exactly. Right, so it's 13 years since the Grand Slam 2005. How much would you say, Mike, the game has changed since then?
Well, the big changes, I think, are things like... obviously, when we played in 2005, I thought we were able to get the ball wide early and quickly and get a lot of space because defences weren't pressing us hard. And in fairness to Clive Griffiths and Sean Edwards, they sort of pioneered that type of stuff. And from the Rugby League days, so Clive came in and added greater line speed to our defence. And I think now it's pretty much a prerequisite that everyone's defending with line speed and make it harder for you guys you talented guys in the backs to make things happen. You're getting closed down a lot.
We saw that England-Ireland game at the start of the campaign, wasn't it?
Yeah.
How much line speed England brought.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult then. There's a lot more kicking. You've got to be tactically sharp with your kicking game. So I think that's one of the biggest changes. I think the breakdown has changed quite a bit as well. You sides are so well coached in the breakdown that if you're not totally accurate, you could probably get away with your body positions not being quite as good back in 2005. Whereas now you got to be spot on, otherwise you get turned over. And of course, I think more and more now, discipline is massive because yellow cards, red cards, penalty counts.
Yeah, so many more cameras and eyes on you now.
Yeah, but also the impact. It's an invasion game, so you've got a certain amount of times to invade the opposition territory. Now, if you keep giving away penalties, you don't get down there.
Exactly,
so even if you don't give away a yellow card, you lose that chance to get to invade the opposition territory and score points. A bit like basketball, where it's 98 and 2, So you've got to make the most of those opportunities. If you keep giving away penalties, you incur the wrath of the referee. You're in trouble. You're not going to win so many games. So I think that that's a big thing now. More and more. When I played, the first name on the team sheet was the enforcer. He was the tough guy. Now he's sort of the last name on the team sheet. So that's the big change. But the same principles are there in the game that were there when I played back in the 1870s or whenever it was. So you've got to get the ball. You have to have a good forward pack. You've got to win the ball. You've got to go forward. I try and coach people trying to get in behind the defence or around the defence. A lot of coaches talk about making the gain line. I think that's second best. I think what you want to do is get in the gaps between defenders or around defenders and get in that space behind, because then you can play an offload game. So I think that's what I try and coach. If you can get in there, and it's more and more difficult these days because of the defences and line speed. But if you can get in there, you can do some damage. And then obviously continuity and defending, are massive pillars of the game as always. So the principles are still the same.
Yeah, there we are. And who do you say, Mike, is the best player you've ever coached?
Well, I never got to coach James Hook, which is a shame. I've always admired his play. I've been very, very lucky, James. I coached so many good players. I think I mentioned Percy Montgomery there. Guys like that. Brian O'Driscoll was just a young man when I coached him, and I wasn't a backs coach, so I can't take too much credit for him. But I mean, some good youngsters come through that are playing for Ireland on Saturday. They coached for the Ireland under-20s. Gary Ringrose is a standout player. Jack Conan's going well. Dan Levy, James Ryan. I coached him in Lansdowne. Tyke Furlong. Tell you a very quick Tyke Furlong story if you've got time. I coached him with the Ireland under-20s in the World Cup in Italy, and I used to give awards for skill of the day, tackle of the day, king of the breakdown, and Tyke Furlong won the award for tackler of the day for the third game running. And I used to give all the boys sort of nicknames because they all had these sort of difficult to pronounce Irish names to read and pronounce for a Welshman like Tyke. So I used to call Tyke the Mayor of Wexford because he was, a big fella, larger than life, real good character. And I said, I bet everybody in Wexford knows you. You're sort of larger than life personality. So I said, right, winner of tackle of the day for the third game running is Tyke Furlong. And he put his hand up. I said, he's the winner, and he's called the Mayor of Wexford. He put his hand up. He said, Mike, please don't call me the Mayor of Wexford anymore. I thought, have I upset you, Tyke? I don't want to upset you. I said, what should I call you from now on? He said, just call me the jukebox. I said, why the jukebox? He said, the hits keep coming. So many good players I've coached. I've been very, very lucky.
Yeah. So you mentioned Percy Montgomery, but because when he played for the Dragons, he was like a superstar, top of his game, wasn't he? It's like, how do you coach a player like him then?
Well, I can't take too much credit for coaching him because he already had the skill set. But I tell you what we did to use him, right, was we used him a lot at 13. And we used him a lot with his left foot kicking option to get us out of our half as a wiper. So, we gave him, he was our go-to guy in our half a lot of the time. And he either had the pace and the skill to to run with the ball and,
Yeah.
and very often draw 2 defenders to him to
Yeah.
put the winger away. Or he had that left foot to boot it 60 yards down the field, and we could chase and pin somebody in their half. So we had a beautiful go-to man. As you know, when you're playing 10, if you've got a kicking option either side, it makes such a difference to you. You know,
Yeah, it does.
you know, you can get flat, you can play a bit more, and if it unfolds, you can go.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're only trying to kick off 10, these days and back then even,
Yeah.
it's such a difficult ask for the 10. You know.
Yeah.
So he was fantastic. Bobby Skinstad came over that season, who was obviously a world superstar as well. So no, I was very lucky. I've had some great players. One of the best players I've ever coached, probably who's underrated, would be Kevin Hopkins, who was the captain captain of Swansea. Went on to become the Ospreys director of rugby.
As well for a bit,
director of rugby, yeah.
That's right, director of
And
rugby.
if you look at the Ospreys, I think you struggled a bit since Kevin has left, and in fact, Kevin and Lynn Jones did quite a bit of won a few trophies, I think. So
yeah, we did, yeah.
So there we are. Things changed a bit, but Kevin's a very underrated player. I think he was class.
Yeah. So the Six Nations, how have we found it so far this year, Mike?
Yeah, well, look, I tell you, James, I haven't always been able to see all of it because Lansdowne play sometimes on a Saturday as well, and I missed the Wales England game, so I'm probably the only Welshman not to see that game. So I sort of slightly out of touch with some of it, but you know, you still got to love it, and I'm sort of looking forward to Saturday's game, and of course you get the ebb and flow with it, and it's all about momentum, as you know from when you've been in successful teams and in Six Nations. If you can just win that first game, sneak that first game. I mean, I remember I was in Mumbles Rugby Club actually watching Wales and France on that Friday night this season. And Morgan Parra stepped up for his first kick, and I said, hey, this guy's probably one of the best kickers in the Northern Hemisphere.
He doesn't miss often, does he?
No, and he missed the first kick, then missed the second, missed the third, fourth. My credibility in Mumbles Rugby Club as a rugby pundit is out the window because he missed everything. And Wales, you know, won. And let's be honest, that first half it didn't look like they would do it. And if he nailed his kicks, it would have been even more difficult. But if you can just get through that first game and then get the momentum, same happened last year with Ireland and France. Ireland was struggling out in France. Johnny Sexton nails like a 50-metre drop goal. You know, and then all of a sudden they win the Grand Slam.
It is small things, isn't it?
So it's all about momentum. Wales have got that. Now my only worry for Saturday for Wales is if Joe Smith doesn't agree to close the roof, the rain's going to come down. I think so. Weather's not going to be good.
Better, do you reckon?
I think it could do. I think Wales will want to get some early ball, what I call green quality ball early. Use their footwork, use their offload a bit, and use the Welsh skills that we know are in abundance in that squad. So I won't say they couldn't win with a rainy day, but I think it would perhaps dilute some of their strengths, you know. Yeah.
We've asked a couple of the boys who've been on the show, Greg Laidlaw, George North, Shane Williams, Tommy Bowe, who is the one player Wales can't do without?
One player Wales can't, well, Alan Wynne-Jones, in my opinion.
And they've all said the same?
Yeah.
Everyone on?
Yeah. Alan Wynne, I remember him training in Swansea under 15s, you know, when I was coaching Swansea, you know, and he was a standout sort of physical size about him then, and I knew his dad. I played rugby with his dad, Tim, who was my solicitor.
Yeah, that's right there.
With the Welsh, you know, trying to negotiate that Welsh contract for me.
Yeah, he grew up with Tim, wasn't he?
Top man Tim, and he was, you know, he was a tough guy, and Alan Wynne has inherited that sort of mental toughness. So he, you know, he's not just a great rugby player with an incredible engine that just keeps going and going and going, and he's very robust, and he's, you know, he just leads from the front, but he's just mentally so tough and drives people on. And Paul O'Connell would have had that, obviously, in the second row for Ireland. You know, they've been similar sort of characters, you know.
Just a presence, isn't it?
Just a presence.
Especially the young boys like Adam Beard coming through now, just look at those.
Those role models like those guys. Going back to sort of Kevin Hopkins, really, he had that sort of mindset, that will to win. And it rubs off on people, you know.
Well, Mike, thanks for coming on Looked On Rugby. Great to see you as always. Top man.
Thanks,
Cheers.
James.
Thank you.
Best of luck. And if you want me to finish with a song, I'm more than happy to do so.
Aye, go on then. Go on.
I saw the light on the night as it passed by her window. I I saw the flickering shadows of love on the blind. She was my woman, and she deceived me. I watched her went out of my mind. Why, Delilah? My, Delilah. So before they come to break down the door, forgive me, Delilah, I just couldn't take it anymore. At break of day when that man rode away, I was waiting. I crossed the street to her house and she opened the door. Come on then, James, you can do the bit. She stood there laughing. I felt the knife in my hand and she left no more. Why, Delilah, diddle-diddle-diddle-diddle. My, Delilah, do-do-do-do-do-do. So before they come to break down the door, forgive me, Delilah, I just couldn't take anymore. Forgive me, Delilah, I just couldn't take anymore.
All together now, one at a time.
I think I had a few wrong chords in a second. I had a few wrong chords in the second bit, but there we are.
Bread up